Alright, welcome back. Aaron Rift here, along with good old Jeff Meacham. Did I just say good old Jeff Meacham?
Good old Jeff Meacham. That's okay. The intro's getting played out, so you're getting sloppy. That's okay.
Exactly.
It's alright.
Anyways, we've talked about our favorite WrestleMania moments, our most overrated matches, most underrated matches, favorite matches. Now that we've had a chance to look at all this, we can discuss our top 5 greatest WrestleManias and our top 5 worst WrestleManias. So let's start off with the top 5. Why don't we do the worst first, get that out of the way. The top 5 worst WrestleManias. I'll go ahead and start with this. Number 1, I don't think I'm going to put these in any particular order. Actually, yeah, I think this is in particular order here, based off of what I wrote here. So I'll start off with my number 5 worst WrestleMania, which is WrestleMania 26. Beyond Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, that was a really piss-poor WrestleMania in my opinion. I felt that there were some good matches on the show, but nothing else really stood out besides Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. WWE did make the right decision putting that match on last, but everything else just felt flat, and in particular, Vince McMahon versus Bret Hart, something I was really anticipating. One of the most anticipated matches ever, considering the fact that the Montreal Screwjob was such a significant moment in history.
And you know what's sad about that match in particular is how long did Bret say, even in his book, which I think is right over there, I would never reduce Montreal to a storyline for the sake of WWE's purposes.
Yeah.
And what happened? And not only did he do it, but the match sucked in the process.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that they should have gone with a tag match. They should have done Bret Hart and John Cena against Vince and Batista in a tag team match, and that way it could have been Cena and Batista in there most of the time. Bret could have gone a hot tag, beat up Vince, put on the sharpshooter, and that would have been it. Instead, they dragged it out, and to me, it was just such a huge disappointment because I was really looking forward to that match.
Yeah, and both those matches sucked in the process.
Yeah, and I felt the commentary was also getting just unbearable by that point. There were a lot of issues with that WrestleMania.
Who was the announcing thing? I know Stryker. He was alright. So.
No, Stryker was terrible, and he was so bad that even Lawler was giving him a dirty look. He said something really stupid, and Lawler just looked at him like, "You're a complete idiot."
Really?
Yeah, I remember. It was I think it was during the main event. It was one of those top matches where even Lawler seemed disgusted. Okay. So yeah, I didn't like that WrestleMania at all.
I didn't either personally.
Next up is WrestleMania 2. WrestleMania 2. Had a lot of technical problems. They tried to do it in 3 different cities: New York, LA, and Chicago. And it was a mess of a show. They just had one technical problem after another. No real memorable matches. You had Mr. T and Roddy Piper, but they had real heat.
It was a boxing match that turned into a brawl because they don't know how to do boxing in WWE.
Boxing matches in wrestling never work out very well.
Right, Bargun?
Yeah. Hogan and Bundy was a decent, it was a fairly standard Hogan match.
Yeah.
Nothing
the
special.
The heel beats up 15 minutes and Hogan hulks up. That's it.
You had the announcing, which was pretty damn bad. I mean, Elvira had no clue what she was talking about.
Well, the problem with the announcing is they had celebrities in each announce team over the course of 3 cities, and the celebrities had no idea what the fuck they were talking about.
Yeah, they were just completely clueless. That WrestleMania, the Battle Royal, once again, football players who were not wrestlers in there. It was just kind of a mess.
That wasn't as bad as the rest of the show, though.
Yeah, I mean...
That was alright.
At least the end was cool with Andre throwing Bret onto the anvil.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was a cool thing.
The whole elimination of Big John Studd was retarded, though. With Fridge pulling him.
And I guess, the Bulldogs winning the tag titles was one of the better moments.
That match got Fridge a Hall of Fame induction.
Oh.
Shit, excuse you. See?
Yeah.
See?
What do I know?
What do you know? Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, moving on here to
inducted by Cena.
My top 3 here. Definitely my top 3. I think most would agree with me. A lot of younger fans seem to think that this is the worst WrestleMania of all time. I don't think it was the worst, but definitely the worst of the recent WrestleManias, and that's WrestleMania 27. You had Undertaker and Triple H, which was an excellent match, but when you take that match out of the equation, that WrestleMania sucked. In particular, the main event, John Cena versus The Miz. They get counted out like 5 minutes into the match, gets restarted. Rock comes out, Rock bottom Cena, Miz wins. It was awful. Nobody wanted to see Cena versus The Miz. Everyone wanted to see Cena versus The Rock. It was just an advertisement for the next year's WrestleMania.
That match was so bad and so not looked forward to. CM Punk literally that was his last straw. He was going to walk out because The Miz was in the main event. And it took Vince signing him the night of Money in the Bank 4 months later to keep him there. But he was fucking done because of that match.
Yeah, so everyone hates that WrestleMania, and I tend to agree it was a pretty piss-poor WrestleMania.
It was horrible.
And my number 2 is WrestleMania 9. They tried to experiment. It seemed like a cool idea to do it at Caesar's Palace, do something different, but it just didn't work out. The crowd wasn't really into the show all that much, and it was just a lot of bad matches. I mean, Undertaker, Giant Gonzalez, one of the worst matches ever in WrestleMania. You had Hogan winning the title after losing earlier. Well, I guess, what was it? Him and Beefcake, it was like a DQ or something.
They lost by DQ because they used IRS's briefcase or some shit like that. I forget exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, that was...
I'm going to go back and watch it in a few days, so I'll let you know.
Yeah, and then of course, Bret Hart versus Yokozuna. Bret Hart loses the title. He looks bad.
God bless Bret. He tried to carry Yoko to a match. It was just...
Yeah, it wasn't a good match, and of course Hogan comes out, wins the title, and Bret Hart's just, pushed aside into the background. So, it was kind of disappointing. The whole show was just really lackluster. And finally, in my opinion, the worst WrestleMania is WrestleMania 11. Just terrible card. Even Bret Hart could not save that show. Bret Hart and Bob Backlund, I mean, that was such a disappointing match.
Yeah, I believe when Backlund said I quit, it was like, Piper's like, yeah, he quit.
Yeah.
What the fuck did he even say?
That match was huge disappointment.
Awful.
When Bret Hart can't even save WrestleMania, you're in for a bad night. Bundy, Undertaker, terrible. Yokozuna and Owen winning the tag titles. That match sucked too. You had Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow, which, I mean, to be fair, wasn't the absolute worst celebrity performance that I've ever seen, but it really had no business being the final match at WrestleMania, and it just it made Bam Bam Bigelow look like a joke. An effective celebrity angle is when you can use the celebrity to help elevate the guys that are there, your wrestling stars, and make them bigger stars.
Yep.
Bam Bam Bigelow lost to Lawrence Taylor. He looked like a goof. And
it took leaving WWE, going to a Bush League like ECW, and dominating the franchise Shane Douglas to get his mojo back.
Yeah, so I mean, it did more damage to his career.
And it took almost 2.5 years to do it.
It hurt his career more than it helped.
It did.
So, that did not work out well. It didn't really do anything to boost WWE's popularity. So,
No.
It was lame. And Shawn Michaels and Diesel was a good match, but, I mean, Diesel as champion was already flopping by that point. Everyone wanted to see Shawn win the title. Didn't happen.
And because of Sid's botched referee finish, it didn't happen. So people were shitting on Sid as a result.
Yeah, so that's my top 5 for the worst. So, go ahead with your top 5 now.
We share 2
Okay.
in the same spot.
Okay.
All right. Number 5. People are going to be like, really, Jeff? And number 5 because it's WrestleMania 7, and it's my first WrestleMania. But other than Warrior Savage and the moments before and after, and the feel-good of Hogan winning the title from Slaughter, name me one moment in that show that really stands out. That's good.
Yeah, Hogan's Slaughter was once again standard Hogan winning the title back.
Yeah, Hogan bled buckets. And then the aftermath of the match, if you go on WWF Magazine or on WWF newsletter, he got a ball of fire thrown in his face after the match by Corwin Mustafa, who debuted behind the scenes. Like, what?
Poor Demolition on that show.
Smash and Crush got beat by a couple of Japanese guys. Like, who the fuck?
And, they had been one of the most dominant tag teams of the 1980s.
Well, by then, Axe was already gone, so they were a shell.
Yeah, but WWE buried Demolition.
They did.
I guess they fell in the long run. The Bushwhackers were a more critical tag team in WWE history.
I asked you not to bring them up.
Sorry. All right, let's quickly move on here.
All right. 13. You mentioned the OD Ahmed Johnson Nation Street fight. That's great. Bret Austin was fucking phenomenal. Undertaker Sid was a horrible title match.
Yes.
One of the worst matches in the streak by far. Yeah. Not as bad as the early ones, like Bundy or Gonzalez, but still pretty bad. And other than that, what happened on that show?
Yeah, that card was really underwhelming.
Horrible card.
Yeah, Rocky Maivia.
In a hot town in Chicago, which is, you don't do that to Chicago. It's ridiculous. Yeah. 25. Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. That was it.
I agree.
That was the whole show.
Totally.
And then 9 and 11 are on my list, 2 and 1.
Yeah, so
11 was horrid.
Yeah.
9 was abysmal. Our buddy Lee was at 9.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was at WrestleMania, that was great, but I regret going because it was so bad.
Right.
It was horrible. A horrible show.
So yeah, we gotta come up with two more here. You know, one I was thinking was WrestleMania 29. You know, when you take out CM Punk versus The Undertaker, I mean, Rock versus Cena was just a complete flop. You know, the crowd wasn't reacting to that match. Everyone knew Cena was going to win. Rock tried to endorse Cena at the end, and nobody reacted. So to me, it was a flop.
Well, I mean, think about it. It took the other night at Fastlane for him to finally get a positive reaction from most of the crowd.
Yeah.
He's fighting Rusev.
Yeah.
For the last 10 years, it's like, no, he hates you, boo. So,
what else did WrestleMania 29 really have?
Yeah, nothing.
The crowd was dead for most of that show.
They had it pretty sad.
Yeah, they reacted to CM Punk and Undertaker. That was it. So, I mean, what ideas do you have for...
Oh, God. WrestleMania. I mean, you know...
I mean, you could say the first WrestleMania if you take out the main event, you know.
Well, again, this main event or number 3. You had Hogan Andre, which was a horrible match, really. And then 3 had Savage Steamboat, but what else?
Yeah.
The number 3, the list was like this long of wrestling matches on that card, but what match really like popped besides Steamboat Savage?
Yeah.
So 3 could be up there too.
Yeah, 16 is another one that I felt when you take out
that one. Yep.
When you take out the ladder match,
the triangle ladder match.
That match was awesome.
That was my first WrestleMania. I paid very little for that ticket, and I'm glad.
I thought the main event was really disappointing of that WrestleMania.
I was the only one in the Chiefs that realized who he hit with the chair. He hit the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we gotta come up with
2000, I'd say. Okay.
Yeah, so WrestleMania 16.
16, and then what did you say before I started talking?
I said WrestleMania 29 or
29.
the first WrestleMania 29. So add 29 and 16 to that list.
Okay,
so there you go. Let us know what you think and stay tuned. We got one more video, our top WrestleMania pay-per-views of all time. Stay tuned for that.